Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of the Uplift. Here I am at Vision. I'm Reverend Patti Paris to guide you through this discussion more about love, We started yesterday on this talk about what did Ernest Holmes have to say? What does the philosophy of the science of mind and spirit have to say about love? So we'll get right into it after we pray in. I give great thanks for this day, for everything in it, for just the weather, for the people, for the water that we drink, for the food that we take into our bodies. I give thanks for all of the good that there is, knowing it is all God, knowing it is motivated by love. It is absolutely manufactured by law. We know that love points the way and law makes the way possible and life moves on. We absolutely know that everything changes in this physical world and we are part of that change. And as we come together, we look beyond the change into the changeless. We look to those eternal truths that we know are always with us, that God is love, and that we are that as well. So as we come together to explore this at an even deeper level, we know it is all God, it is all good, and so it is. So we started yesterday with talking about what Ernest Holmes had to say about love. And it's a huge subject. You know, when I first started to research it in all of the documents that I have, all the electronic documents, you know, and I just put the word love in, oh my gosh, you know, basically the computer had a meltdown, you know. It said to me, there's way too much about love. You'll be here forever just researching it. So I had to kind of break it down a little bit. Love in this manner, or love in that manner, or the different, ways of expressing it. So we started yesterday with the real big ideas, the fundamental propositions of our faith philosophy of the science of mind and spirit, and what it has to say about love as a universal, as the as the motivating force that spirit has. And so I want to continue there, and as we go, of course, we'll personalize it a little more and a little more as this week goes on. But I wanted to start there again, and I thought where we would begin would be with the New Thought Dictionary. Now, that was published in 1942, and Ernest describes love this way: the outpouring of spirit, the givingness of life. In its lesser sense, the affection one has for another. The principle of love is not to be confused with mere sentimentality, although the forms of love are aspects of it. It is the great transforming power which brings everything into harmony. It is a unifying principle, a creative element, the motivating power of all that is fine and noble in life. In the metaphysical treatment, it's of course, what we call affirmative prayer, right? In the metaphysical treatment, it is the healing force. Well, that's a huge, huge definition. So let's take it a couple of bites at a time, right? There's a lot of information that was passed to us through that definition. So love, the outgiving of spirit, the givingness of life. We know this to be true. This is spirit giving of itself to life, whether it is in the form of people or animals or air molecules, whales, birds, whatever. The self-givingness, spirit incarnating itself as form, is the idea that it's loving itself into being. It is motivated by love. And then law takes the ideal and creates the form. So we have this love points the way, law makes the way possible idea again, right? That spirit thinks with love. Tree or seed or cat, whatever it is, it thinks it with love, and law goes to work out picturing it as an expression of spirit's love for itself in form. And that's how everything is created. This divine creative process repeats and repeats and repeats. That's what God does. It creates. That's what spirit does. It creates in the manifest universe whatever is the divine ideal of its expression of love. And so it expresses as love people, and it expresses as love trees, and it expresses as love a grain of sand. Whatever it is an expression of spirit's love. And then of course he goes on to say, in its lesser sense, the affection one has for another. And that's so familial love, brotherhood love, romantic love. I love these shoes I'm wearing, right? How often do we say things like that? Oh, I love that shoe. Oh, I love that haircut you have. Oh my gosh, I just love that. Did you love that movie? I love that movie. I love the soundtrack. Right, we use the word, we throw it around all the time. We love all kinds of things. And that's what Ernest Holmes is saying here. In its lesser sense, it is that personalizing that we do of love. I love that guy, I love that woman, I love that group, I love the class I'm in. We say it all the time, but the principle that we are discussing right now, the principle, he says, is not to be confused with that mere sentimentality, right? The principle of love is not about loving the shoes or loving the movie or loving that play. The principle of love is really an action. It is an action. It is a verb. It is becoming. Love is infusing itself into the form that it takes, because everything is motivated by love, because God is a self-givingness is love. So everything that we see is actually love in form. That's really what it is. It is what Ernest says, a great transforming power. It brings everything into harmony. It is a unifying principle, a creative element. It is the motivating power in everything that is fine and noble. And he goes on to say, now the last line, which I thought was like just like blows the socks off the whole quote, is in the metaphysical treatment, or what we call affirmative prayer, It is the healing force. That's huge. That is huge, because if you're not in love, in the quality of God known as love, while you are praying, while you are doing your affirmative prayer work, I don't think you should expect much in the form of changed conditions around you. Because it says right there, it is the healing force. It is the healing force. And why do we pray? We pray for healing. We pray for a change of conditions. We pray for something to change as a result of our affirmative prayer. Well, Ernest Holmes is saying right there, don't expect much to happen if it's not motivated by love. Love is the healing force in your prayer work. So if you're not coming from love, don't bother, is really what he's saying. Reminds me of the Bible passage. I can't cite it right now. I forgot. But it reminds me of that Bible passage where, you know, when you're going to put your gift on the altar, if you have something against, if you're holding something against your brother, which meant, you know, brother, friend, relative, loved one, whatever. If you're holding something against someone, don't even bother putting your gift on the altar. It's meaningless. It's not even going to work, right? It's not even going to do anything good. Go back and reconcile with that person first, or even reconcile in your mind. Go back to a place of love. Get into the place of love before you put your gift on the altar, because it's not going to work anyway. So really, really important. That last sentence, although very short, concise, it's powerful. It has great meaning for us. I found more love. Of course I did. I found more love in Ernest's writings. I'm moving over to This Thing Called You, which was a book Ernest wrote in 1948. And Ernest writes, "You are made perfect in the law when you enter into conscious communion with love. Love is the fulfillment of the law. That is, it is only through love that the law can fulfill itself in your experience, because love harmonizes everything and it flows through everything. You can never make the most perfect use of the law unless that use is motivated by love." And you know, when I read this, it reminded me of all of those times when maybe I have prayed something, prayed and prayed and prayed, and then something else happened, and it really didn't look much like what my prayer was, and I went, "The heck is that? How did that happen?" You know, those moments, the apples and oranges moments, you know, when you think you're praying apples and you get oranges, and you're like, "What is that? How did that happen?" And you know, I think that is what this passage is discussing, right? If you are not in love, if you're not steeped in love, if you're not coming from a place of unconditional love, you're not harmonizing. Love harmonizes everything, flows through everything. You cannot make the most perfect use of the law unless you're motivated by love. That's what it's saying. So you're making an imperfect use of the law. No wonder why. No wonder why I was praying apples and getting oranges, because I was not making the perfect use of the law, because I was not steeped in love. I was not immersed in that most pure quality that harmonizes everything. So it's almost like light going through a prism, how it breaks up and it goes and it scatters this way and that way and all these different light waves. Same thing. If I am not immersed in this quality that harmonizes everything, then perhaps my affirmative prayer gets scattered, and what I think I want, or what I want, or my desire gets skewed somehow, and something else happens because I am not harmonizing with love. I am not immersed in this thing called love. I'm not making the most perfect use of the law. So that's really a good lesson for us to know. In richer living, here's another aspect of how our lives work the way they do. In richer living, Ernest writes, someone might ask, but how do we really know the universe rests on the shoulders of love? And the answer is more simple than it might appear. For instance, no one is ever harmed by love. The more love there is in one's life, the better it is. While the opposite to love, which is hate and dislike, can actually consume a person mentally, destroy his health physically. If then love tends to build up, while the opposite tends to destroy, we may be certain that there is universal reality to it, that we actually are immersed in an infinite love as well as a divine wisdom. And we must learn to feel this presence of this love and rely on it. Now, there's a lot to that quote, but what I want to really address about it is we know love. We know how it feels. We know how much better off we are. And we also know when people are using the word love, but they're not coming from love. You know, a lot of what is called love in our exchanges with each other is control, or manipulation, or conditional, and we know this as well, right? We know this as well. No one is ever harmed by love. Now, that's a huge statement that Ernest makes. No one is ever harmed by love, and that's true. Unconditional love. Now, plenty of us have in our backgrounds conditional love. I'll love you if you're a good girl. I'll love you if you pick up your toys. I'll love you if you get an A. That's not love. And now it's described as love to us as we're growing up. But really, it's contract. It's contract law. It's really not love, right? What Ernest is saying here is no one is ever harmed by true love, true unconditional love. And that is absolutely true. Love builds up. Love tends to harmonize. There is an infinite ability to extend ourselves, to be immersed in love, and to extend it to all those around us. Love is unconditional or not at all. And as we feel the presence of it, and then we share it, that is how we become more lovely and loving and loving. And this last quote comes from Richer Living as well. When we let love within us go out to the God who is in all people and the divine presence that is in all things, then we are loving God with all our hearts and with all of our soul and with all of our mind, because we are recognizing that spirit within us is the same spirit that we meet in others. This is loving our neighbors as ourselves. And so I want to just finish up there, because that is the truth. That is the unconditional love that Spirit has for its creations, recreated through us as we love each other unconditionally. We are recreating that love of Spirit, the love of Spirit that it has for itself, the self-givingness of Spirit to its own creations. And that is the true manner of love. And when it harmonizes through us to all things, we cannot help but be a blessing, not only to ourselves and to others, but to all life. Let's end there with prayer. I give great thanks for this time spent together. I know it is all God, it is all good. I know the universe does rest on the shoulders of love. I know that love is that irresistible force that absolutely points the way to creation. I know law takes it from there and makes that creation possible. I know these two aspects of the divine work together in harmony, creating life. And I know that we use that same divine creative process to co-create our lives in spirit. So I speak my word right now on behalf of all, knowing that we co-create in love. We co-create in joy, we co-create in harmony and peace. And so it is. Just giving great thanks for this time we get to spend together. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow. We'll have a guest speaker. That's our Wednesday guest speaker, Uplift. It'll be wonderful and enjoyable, so tune in, and then I will see you again on Thursday for another edition of Uplift. We'll finish up this deep dive into love. I love it. Do you? I hope so. From my heart to yours, Vision, we are one. Right through this technology, right through this time we are spending together apart. Love you all. See you next time on the Uplift. Bye-bye.